20, 25 minutes just to go through understanding calories in a bit more detail, understanding calorie deficit, what that actually means, how to achieve a calorie deficit, what even is a calorie, and also a few other things. So we're going to cover, how muscle outperforms fat for energy output. How many calories do you need? What should your calorie deficit be to optimize fat loss? And also just going to touch on the idea of how long you should maybe stay in a calorie deficit for. So firstly, what is a calorie? I suppose I could put in the chat box if you want to put your hand up if you want to have a go at answering that. So basically, it's really simple. So a calorie is just a unit of energy. So it's just a label for a unit of energy. Okay, so that's what a calorie is. So just when you think of calories, just think of energy, and that's what calories do. Obviously, calories come in many different forms, but that's all a calorie is. So that brings us nicely onto the subject of the difference between weight loss and fat loss. Again, if you want to chime in and ask what the difference is, but I'll go through the difference. So what happens a lot of the time when someone wants to go on a diet and lose weight is that they are kind of often forgetting that there is a difference between weight loss and fat loss. So if you just starved yourself, you're going to lose a combination of body weight, but also, of body fat, but also body weight. And, we're not just, hopefully, we're not just fat, right? We're made up of a lot more. We're made up of bone density and muscle and, obviously our internal organs, etc. So, but what people really mean when they say I want to lose weight is they want to lose fat. But they don't say that. They say weight. And so if you're saying weight, then when it comes to measuring your success, then most people tend to only measure weight, which is my sort of gripe with a lot of diet clubs that only focus on the scales, which is a real big issue, because if you're only interested in losing weight and not fat, then great, that's a good measurement. But if you actually want to lose body fat and sustain it, then you need to be focusing more on body fat loss. So, this will help you understand the difference as well between muscle loss or muscle and body fat. So muscle, it's really important to understand, is way more metabolically active than fat, okay? Which basically means it burns more calories when you're at rest. So just to put that into context and understand, and this will maybe blow your mind a little bit. 1 pound of body fat burns roughly 2 to 3 calories per pound of body weight that you have. Okay, so let's say within your body weight, you've got roughly 100 pounds of body fat to lose. Each pound of fat that you have is going to burn roughly 2 to 3 calories. Now, look at the difference. So with fat, 1 pound of muscle, so we're using the same amount, burns 7 to 10 calories per pound of body weight. So you've got 2 to 3 calories through fat, 7 to 10 calories through muscle. So, muscle is a far more metabolically active resource for optimizing your fat loss, not just weight loss. Okay, so it's really important to remember that on anyone that watching this on the recording. If you're on a bit of a weight loss journey, this is a really good point to drive home just how important it is to distinguish the difference between weight and fat, because when you do that, you understand the importance of building and sustaining muscle mass, particularly after the age of 30. Our particularly 40, but 30, we tend to lose muscle mass on an average of 10% per decade, metabolism wise. Obviously you can reverse that massively by doing the right type of training, and that's probably one of the funniest things is, you know, more people, youngsters, tend to do more sort of strength and bodybuilding or just strength training, and you know, the older generation tend to do more cardio. Well, actually, in terms of just keeping people in good health, the opposite would be really beneficial to most people's health. You know, obviously most younger people tend to do it for aesthetic reasons, you know, when they want to have a six pack or they want to get, you know, they just want to look good. But actually, you know, for a health standpoint, you know, the older sort of 30, 40 plus would really put them in good stead to do more strength training. And also just on that age topic, there's not many studies that have shown longevity benefits, but one of the things that has been shown is the more muscle you hold, the longer your lifespan. There's been a high correlation between the amount of mitochondria that we have and the length of life that you live. I think that's probably not just due to the muscle. My theory on that is due to the fact that if you have more muscle, and with more muscle tends to come more strength, and with more strength obviously comes less fragility. Is that the word? Frailty. Yeah. So if you fall over or fall off, I mean, my nan, bless her heart, you know, she had Parkinson's disease for many years. She was very frail, and you know, she literally fell off a one-step ladder. She was just doing some gardening, and just off the back of that, you know, she died within about 3 or 4 weeks. You know, if she was stronger, if she was, you know, she probably would have lived another 5-10 years. Who knows? So strength is it's really important, not just for fat loss, but for longevity. So if we're going back to calories, and we're looking at losing weight, one really important question is to know, well, how many calories can I actually burn without losing all that muscle that I've been trying to build? Okay, and that is a big burning question, because obviously many people who are desperate to lose body fat or desperate to lose weight, they will go on a lot of these sort of real fatty, crazy, low-calorie diets, and that's great, you know, because a lot of these people obviously judging success by the scale, but not realizing that they're actually losing muscle mass whilst losing weight. And you already know how detrimental that is by how many calories that muscle burns. So even though the weight loss in the short term might be nice, in the longer term, it's not very sustainable, because as you lose more muscle mass, you're actually burning less calories at rest, which means as soon as you start having the odd treat or having the odd bit of chocolate or having the odd glass of wine back in your diet, you start to gain the weight back on again. Okay, so one of the studies that I came across recently, I'll see if I'll maybe find it afterwards. The guy's name was Seymour Overt, and he did a big study in the US to learn a bit more about calories and find the answer to this question. And what he found out from the big study is roughly we extract roughly 31 calories per pound of body weight. Okay, 31 calories per pound of body weight is roughly the maximal that we can burn of pure body weight before we start to burn muscle mass. Now that's based on just having a calorie deficit through diet. So that basically is based on just losing weight through dieting. That's not through exercise or any activity. Okay. When he looked at the activity side, it came down. So you're only burning 22 calories per pound of body weight, okay, when you're achieving the calorie deficit through exercise or activity as well, basically. Okay, so let me just give you some context on what that means. So also the caveat on that, you know, even though those numbers are you know, based on the research I've seen are pretty accurate, no number, no calorie counter, anytime you see any sort of numbers games to do with calories, there's always going to be a caveat, and there's always going to be, nothing's going to be exact because the human body is very complex. The other thing to remember, like I've put here, is, you know, you've always also going to have things like hormonal aspects. Sleep's going to affect, you know, the amount of calories that you burn, and also the quality will affect it as well. So even if you were to follow these maths to the T, if you're eating like McDonald's and takeaways, then it's not going to work, because ultimately we still need a certain amount of good quality food, but particularly, as I'm always banging on about, enough protein to preserve muscle mass. Okay, so that's the caveat. But let's just kind of take those numbers and make it more applicable so you understand what I'm talking about, right? So let's take someone that's a 200-pound person, okay, and let's say they've got roughly a 20% body fat, okay? So they're weigh 200 pounds and their body fat percentage is about 20%, okay? So based on that, we can work out how many pounds of body fat that they have to lose, right? So we just take 20% of 200. So we've got 40 pounds, okay? So this person has got 40 pounds of pure body fat to lose, okay? So we've done that calculation by just taking 20% of 200. Give me a thumbs up if we're on board so far. Okay, so then we're going to use Seymour's calculation to work out of those 40 pounds of body fat that this person has, okay, how many calories per day can he burn without sacrificing muscle mass? Okay, nice number to know. So we'll start with the deficit without any activity, which, if you remember, was 31 calories. Okay, so that means he could, if he had a calorie deficit of 12 calorie deficit, he could actually burn 1,240 calories per day without losing any muscle. Okay, so the way that we work that out is we've just times that amount of body fat he has by 31. Okay, so that's 1,240. That's a lot of calories to be able to burn without losing any muscle mass at all. Okay, so now what we do is we work out, well, we can look at how many he would burn if he was exercising and if he was creating the calorie deficit with exercise. Because just remember, you know, the calorie deficit, when we're talking about that, in case I've lost you on that, it just means, calorie deficit means the amount of calories you need to lose, okay, whether it's eating less or burning more through exercise to achieve your weight loss goals, okay? So if we were going to work it out through exercise, it would be 880 a day, okay? So let me just show you that again. 240 calories per day if he wasn't exercising, 180 if he was using exercise as well, okay? So hopefully that makes some sense. So what can we do with that information? What does that tell us? Well, firstly, what I thought I'd do is make it simple for just to keep things simple. So if we look at 880 and we look at 1240, okay, let's take a means average between that. That's 1,000 calories, isn't it? Roughly about 1,000 calories, okay? So then what we can say is, okay, well, 1,000 calories a day is a good target. I need to find out how many that would equate to over the course of a week. So I just times the 1,000 by 7 days, and that gives me 7,000 calories per week. And the reason we always want to do that is because ultimately you want to work out what your weekly weight loss target is, because that's always a nice target to have in mind. Because if, let's say, your weekly target is 2 pounds a week or 3 pounds a week, say, you know, and you only lose 1 pound 1 week, you know, then you can, you know, that there's some things that have gone off plan, and you can refine that and try and make adjustments the following week, right? But so you work that out, so 7,000 calories. And then what you can do from here, guys, once you've worked out how many calories per week you need to be in a deficit for, you need to achieve the deficit, we divide this number by the amount of calories in 1 pound of body fat. Okay, so it's not exact, but it's roughly 3,500. Okay, so if you divide 7,000 calories in total by 3.5, that actually equals 2 pounds per week. Okay, so 2 pounds per week for this person would be a good average target. Okay, so as you can see, this would change somewhat for different people depending on how much weight you have to lose. Okay, so if we do this similar with someone that's a little bit larger and got slightly higher body fat, so let's say it's a 250-pound person with a 25% body fat, they would actually have 62.5 pounds of body fat to lose. Okay, and when we're saying 62.5 pounds, you know, that is every ounce of body fat in your body. Now, it's actually important to know that you actually need a certain amount of body fat. It's actually really important for your health to not lose body fat completely. Okay, so even if you did the calculations for yourself, because I did them for myself, I was like, God, that's a lot. I didn't think I was that fat. But, you know, you have to take into account that takes into account every inch of body fat in your body. But anyway, going back to this person, so they weigh 250 pounds. They've calculated, they've had maybe a calipers test, or they've had some sort of body fat test like the ones that we do at LPT, and they've found out that, you know, in total they've got about 62.5 pounds of fat to lose. Okay, so if we just base it on the non-exercise deficit, we times that by 31, and that really cranks it up compared to the last person. So they could actually have a calorie deficit of 1,937 calories a day if they wanted to. So let's say that they were, you know, normally eating 3,000 calories a day, just for example. Okay, that was normal. We minus 1,937. I've done that wrong. 1,937. They would be down to 1,000, almost 1,000 calories a day, which is very low. Okay, so the point being is, and that's based on only getting the deficit through diet itself, which is why it's important to look at the two different numbers, because obviously if someone's been eating 3,000 calories, there's no way it's sustainable for them to then go to 1,000 calories, is it? Okay, so and if they were to work that out over a week, that's going to work out at a total deficit of 13,562. Okay, so if they wanted to work out how much that they could just remember these numbers, the whole reason we're doing these numbers is purely to work out what is the maximal amount of calories they can burn before they start to burn muscle. Okay, because there is a tipping point, there is a bite point in the body where your body stops burning your own body fat, and it's like, oh, you know, and it goes into what's known as a bit of a survival mode, and it basically says, oh, can't do this anymore, I'm going to switch to your muscle. Okay, and your body goes through a process called gluconeogenesis, where it actually strips out the muscle. It breaks down your own muscle mass and converts that into energy. Okay. So going back to this, so this person has worked out that their total weekly calorie deficit is 13,562. So what we do to work out the weekly weight loss average is obviously we divide that by 3,500 calories. And for that person, they can almost lose 4 pounds a week. Okay, so 3.875. So how much weight you have to lose will dictate to quite a large extent on what your weekly target will be. It's fairly logical, right? So, if you've got less weight to lose or less body fat to lose, you need to be expecting to lose less per week than someone, I kind of get confused, but a lot of people seem to find this quite a hard concept to understand. We'll have clients that will say, oh yeah, but he lost 6 pounds last week. He lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks, and I've only lost 3 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, but you weigh 3 stone less than that person. You've got less weight to lose. You can't compare yourself against someone else that's got that amount more energy. That they've just got more energy, not in a good way. All right. So that's really important to understand. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea on just understanding, body fat, firstly, the importance of muscle, but also you've got a couple of calculations there. The two numbers to remember are 31 and 22. Okay. I think a good range, because for most of us, let's face it, we're going to achieve the calorie deficit through a bit of activity, but it's not going to be like purely activity. For me personally, a combination of a calorie deficit through food and through exercise is a nice happy medium. I mean, there's no way I would be basing my own numbers on 31. Okay, because I love food. I'd rather train harder, build more muscle tissue and burn more calories and eat a bit more of the food that I enjoy, because I love food. Okay, so I would be going more in the 20s. I'd probably go at about 26. Okay, so how can you do this yourself? We'll get to that in a moment. So firstly, it's a good idea to think about body fat percentages and what good targets are. Unless you're like going to be like a cover model, or you want to have a 6-pack, for most people, a good target, for our members, for any guys watching this on the replay, sort of 15 to 25%, and any women sort of 25 to 35. It does change a little bit with age. Okay. There are some guidelines online. Typically, as we get older, the body fat percentage target will be a little bit higher. But 25 to 35 is a decent one for ladies, and 15 to 25 for men. So this is where you can start to use what we've just learned and actually get a bit more practical with it. So if you already know what your body fat percentage is, okay, let's say you know that, I'm going to give you an example. So let's say you want to lose 15%, okay, and you're someone that weighs 200 pounds. Okay, you just times 15 by 200 to get your percentage, or be 0.15, and then you'll find out how many pounds that you need to lose, right? So 30 pounds of fat. Okay, obviously you do it the other way around, 200 times 0.15. So 30 pounds of fat would be your goal. Okay, and then you basically decide, once you've worked out how many pounds a week you want to lose, you can, or what rate you'd like to lose it at, then you can see what duration it's going to be. So in this instance, you've got someone that's got to lose 20 pounds, and they've worked out it's going to be roughly 2 pounds per week that they're going to want to lose that weight. Okay, and that is based on them losing it through fat loss, okay, without going into muscle, and this is going to take them 15 weeks. Okay, so, oh wait a minute, is that right? Yeah, 20 pounds. The rate, no, that's wrong. It'd be 10 weeks, wouldn't it? I told you my maths was bad. So if you've got £2 to lose per week and you've got 20 pounds, it's not going to be 15 weeks. It's going to be 10 weeks. Let me just change that. All right. So then the question is, you know, should you be in a calorie deficit for 10 weeks? Okay. Or let's use the example of that other person that had to lose quite a lot more weight. You know, for them, they might be looking at more like 20 weeks that they've got to maintain their calorie deficit. What I found is, again, as a general rule, if you're a male watching this and you're sort of 20% and up, or a female and you're sort of 25, 30% and up, you can go a little bit longer before having what I would call a diet break. I think a diet break is really important. People get this idea of if they want to lose weight and they're not at their target weight, that they just spend their life on a friggin' diet. And that is not a good strategy. Okay. Now, it's not a good strategy for two reasons, in my opinion. The first reason is sustainability. So if you're constantly in a diet state, or your state of mind is in a diet state, you know, and you're thinking, I've got to eat less, got to eat less, got to eat less, got to eat less, or got to lose weight, it just becomes quite draining. And, you know, and it almost has a negative impact on you, you know, from a mental standpoint. I don't know if, you know, you put your hands up if you agree with that, or if you've experienced that. Erica's put her hand up, Natalia's put her hand up. Yeah, so, you know, it's not a good way to kind of live your life in that state. I remember reading an NHS, they did a big study on obesity, and one of the stats that blew my mind is the average person spends 25 years on a diet. I was like, wow. So that's pretty crazy. The other thing to know as well is your body is just so clever. So it's a bit like training. The reason why we don't do the same exercises all the time, even though there's really 4 or 5 core good exercises, why don't we just repeat those all the time? And, you know, particularly at the same weight, well, your body adapts, right? So it's the same with fat loss and weight loss. Your body kind of gets conditioned to what you do all the time. So you need to remember that your body sometimes needs a break, and your body will also hormonally adapt to the calorie deficit. And so that's another thing to remember is, you know, the calorie deficit will need to change over time. It might need to change, like, I'm sure Alan doesn't mind. I think we've changed his calorie target about 4 or 5 times since he's been on his weight loss journey. He's lost over 110 pounds, you know, because one of the things I always say to people is what gets you from A to B doesn't get you from B to C. So if you want to lose a stone, the strategy that you take won't be the same strategy to lose 2 stone or 3 stone. Okay. Because you're going to have less body weight. So, you know, there's going to be different things you're going to have to do on any journey. So that's just really important to know. So just going back to how often, so a diet break is not where you just go, I've lost a stone now, I'm just going to eat what I want. A diet break is basically going back to more of a maintenance level. Okay. So, you know, you're not trying to achieve any sort of calorie deficit. You're trying to be within maybe like 200 to 300 calories either way of your daily calorie target. All right. And that the daily calorie target, you want to use Catch Mercado. That's what we use on Keystone. It's called Catch Mercado. I've got a website that I can share with you. I've got 2 websites actually I'm going to share with you after this that do 2 things. The first website will help you work out your TDEE, which is basically your total daily energy expenditure. So it's the amount of calories that you need to stay where you are right now. Forget your weight loss goals or your muscle building goals. You know, you need to know how many calories your body needs to sustain what you've got before you can work out anything else. Okay, the other website is the one that actually someone has, I found this morning, I didn't realize it existed, but someone else had read the study and they've created a calculator based on this scientist's findings. And you can actually plug in your weight and your body fat. No, you just put in your weight in kilos or pounds. That's all you do. And then you click submit, and it gives you a graph, and it will tell you, you know, if you're 15%, this is how many calories you can burn before losing muscle. This is how many calories you can burn at losing muscle. Really simple and easy for you guys to look at, okay? Because I wasn't expecting you to do all this yourself and write it all out, because that would just be too complicated. So I'll share those two links after this, okay? So, so really, I think I finished my last point. Really, the main summary is that the more body fat that you hold, the faster and longer you can maintain fat loss without sacrificing muscle. Okay, that is one key thing. Okay, but the only caveat to that is sustainability, because a lot of people reading that would be like, oh, well, my fad low calorie diet is fine, then I can just eat 500 calories a day. And my reply would be, well, good luck with that. You know, you can maybe do that for a week or two, but then you're going to hate life. You're going to miss food. And whoever's your coach telling you to do that is you're going to hate him as well. Erica, you got a question? Take yourself off mute, Erica. That's fine.
Shouldn't it say the more muscle mass you hold, the faster and longer you can maintain fat loss?
The more muscle mass you have, the faster your fat loss?
Yeah. You know, in your summary number 1, is that right? That the more fat you hold, the faster you can maintain?
No, that is right. That is right. Okay. Yeah, basically
Sorry.
what it means,
to get my head around.
Yeah, the more body fat that you have, yeah, the faster and the longer you can basically use energy before, because remember, when fat loss, we're just talking about energy. Yeah. Okay. If you've only got let me go to the extreme. If you've only got 1 pound of body fat left in your body, that's going to go pretty quick and not very long before you start using muscle, is it? You've just got 1 pound.
I understand. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
So if you've got 300 pounds of body fat, you know, your body is going to be tapping into that pretty fast and for a long time before you start to lose any muscle mass.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So summary number 2 is the more body fat that you hold, the more sustainable it is to take diet breaks every 4 to 6 weeks. So that was what I was alluding back to is, you know, if you're holding, for most people like that come to us, I would suggest a diet break every 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously, it depends a little bit on the person. Like if you're really enjoying the process and you're feeling good and you're not getting too cranky, then, you know, crack on. But particularly from everyone I've worked with over the years who have achieved really, really good results, I found that and this is something I'm actually going to encourage people finishing our 6-week challenge to do more, is after the 6 weeks is take a bit of a diet break. Have a bit, because, you know, well, firstly, like I said earlier, you don't want to spend your life on a diet. That's no fun. You want to get used to being in maintenance. And that also should be a goal when you're setting your goals. Yes, you want to have a weight loss goal, but you also want to have some maintenance goals in there. Not maintenance in terms of because you've hit your target weight, but more a bit like an athlete. You know, if you look at athletes, I've trained a few athletes and I've programmed some training plans for athletes. You don't constantly try and get them fitter and stronger. You know, you need to have a bit of a kind of recovery stage. It's called undulating training. So you're kind of going hard and you're going easy, and the same thing works really well. And this is why bodybuilders at the extreme level, they use what's known as a bulk phase and a cut phase. Okay. And, you know, for the everyday person like us, like, you know, we're not interested in going to those extremes, but we can still use the same philosophy of cut and bulk. So, you know, you diet hardish, not as hard as a competitive bodybuilder, but, you know, you focus on the calorie deficit for 4 to 6 weeks, and you might say, right, because I'm kind of doing this, June, I'm starting a bit of a plan. I'm still working on it at the moment, but it's going to include a bit of intermittent fasting. I'm going to be going keto a little bit. I'm just going to be testing a few different things. And I'll probably do that for 4 weeks, and then I'll have a bit of a maintenance plan. And sometimes it's good just to test things as well, you know, test things out. Like, do I want to test going no grains in my diet for a few weeks? Do I want to test, you know, up in my protein? Do I want to test, you know, I don't know, whatever you feel would be a good test. Do I want to go vegan for a few weeks or veggie? It's always good to test different things. You know, it's always surprising what the outcomes can be. But ultimately, I think mentally as well, it's a nice thing to have. It makes you feel like you've got a real good plan, rather than the plan being, I'm on a diet. that's my life plan. You know, you're like, okay, I'm going for a calorie deficit for 4 weeks. I'm going to optimize my calorie deficit for fat loss so that I don't lose muscle mass. I'm then going to take a couple of weeks where I allow my diet to be a bit more flexible. I maybe bring in a few cheat foods or treat foods that I wouldn't normally have, you know, and then I'm going to just see how the results go. And then I'm going to do another 4 weeks in that calorie deficit. Maybe your calorie deficit is about 500 calories a day, or maybe even 1,000 calories a day. Just depends on your stats. Okay. But for some people that are watching this recording, you know, they may have like, I don't know, 50, 60 pounds of body fat to lose. And so they could be looking at a 18, 20 week plan to, you know, until they actually get to their target weight loss goal. And, you know, so that they really need to take, you know, you don't want to be in a calorie deficit or on a diet for 20 weeks. Like, no, I don't even know any competitive bodybuilders that I've worked with over years that would do that, because mentally it's just not sustainable. It's definitely no life, you know, and it doesn't give you any kind of you want a little bit of freedom, you know, because, you know, at the end of the day, life's for living, isn't it? So you want to be able to, you know, give yourself enough structure to get results, but enough freedom to enjoy the process. And that would be my best advice. So I think that's it. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I think I've kept to my 45-minute time. So I just open up to any questions on any of that. Is that?
I've got a question.
Go for it.
You know, in Keystone, Matt, you worked out the calorie count for us. Does that include the deficit if you want to lose weight?
Yeah, it does.
Or is it just, it does, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what we do in Keystone is Keystone uses a Catch McArdle, which is the website calculator that I'm going to share with you guys. And then depending on the person, we will add the deficit to that. So it would be like 10%, 20%, 30%. And that will depend on the person. So if the person's only got, you know, maybe a few pounds to lose, then the deficit that we'll put on that will be a lot less than someone that's got a lot more weight to lose.
Yeah. So in a way, if we are quite a lot below that target, it means we are starting to lose muscle mass.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
That's a problem of mine, I think, because I'm trying to be so good, and it's actually not helping, I don't think.
Yeah. So there is definitely a tipping point where if you go too low, you start to lose muscle mass.
Yeah.
And then because of that, even though you're eating less and less and less, your body's actually not burning any, you're actually burning less calories because you're losing more muscle mass. So it's diminishing returns, you know. This is one of the reasons why so many people over the years have struggled to lose weight who purely focus on the calories burnt and the calories taken in and not account for the metabolism. And do you remember when I did the nutrition talk and I talked about NEAT? So that's the non-exercise activity. And NEAT plays a big part as well. So how busy you are in a day and how active you are. But so many people, you know, who I've met over the years, you know, they'll just base it on how many calories they're eating and they'll do loads of cardio, you know, and they just think if I do loads of cardio and, you know, and we know if you do loads of cardio and you're in a calorie deficit, you're very quickly going to be using muscle mass, you know, not if you're carrying 3 stone, but, you know, once you start to lose some weight, you're going to start to lose some muscle mass. And unless you're doing the cardio, like the runners and the cyclists, you know, if you're doing the cardio every day, yeah, sure, you're going to keep off the weight. But as soon as you start to actually eat the odd naughty food, the weight will come back on. Whereas people that are lifting some weights as well as doing some cardio and then maintaining or building some muscle tissue, you know, those are the people that they can have the odd pizza or the odd takeaway, or they can go away for a week on holiday and they haven't gained a pound, you know, or the opposite to some people, like, you know, someone like Lewis, who's got packed on some muscle over the years. If he goes on if he goes on holiday, he would actually lose weight. I bet you any money after lockdown, he'll lose weight, okay? Because his metabolism's so high because of his muscle mass, you know, and he's just not getting enough calories in to sustain it. And because he's not able to train properly quite to the level that he normally would do and have that muscle stimulation to keep growing the muscle, unless he is eating all the time, which probably knowing Lewis, he probably is, he might be struggling a little bit to keep the muscle mass up. But I've got a lot of, I mean, that's why it's sometimes good to look at extremes. You know, if you look at the most extreme cases of people who have like 3, I think without killing yourself, I think the lowest you can get your body fat percentage is around the 3 to 4% mark, which is just like ridiculous, and actually is really not very healthy at all. But there are bodybuilders that will go that low in order to win championships, etc. But you know, those guys, you know, they are consuming a hell of a lot of calories, and doing 0 cardio. So the complete opposite to the example I just gave you of the people that think to lose weight, you just got to do loads of cardio and eat as little as you can. The leanest people ever are the ones that are doing the least amount of cardio and eating tons of calories. And that's because they understand the benefit of optimizing your metabolism. Now, I'm not saying everyone should become bodybuilders. It's certainly not a passion of mine. I believe that if we just have the right education and we understand how the body works, we understand what calories are, then you can get really good results. Okay, so cool. Well, hopefully that's helped you guys. What I'm going to do is ping across those two links I mean, I think I've got them open, so I can probably show you what I mean. So this one here is the TDEE, okay? So this is the total. So literally, you just plug in. So you see, I've done it there. So you are 37, male, who is 178 pounds, 5'8", moderate exercise. My body fat's 18%. So I click recalculate. So my maintenance calories is 2,790. So that works out at 19,531 per week. So that is based on me staying where I'm at. Okay. So if I wanted to lose weight based on that, then I need to cut down how many of that is. So yeah, so currently like mine will be around sort of 1,800 to 2,000 instead of 2,790. Okay. And then the other calculator is this one. It's called the max fat loss rate. So if you scroll down to this bit here where it says fat to energy conversion, you'll be able to see it actually gives you a link to the study as well if you want to have a look at the study. But it actually talks about Professor Seymour Alpert, and all you do is I'll do it. So my body weight in pounds, I think it's 178, or you can put it in kilograms if you want, and you just click calculate, and then you get this graph that comes up like this, and it says the amount of body fat and daily calorie deficit for a 178 pounds male person, and then you just find your body fat percentage. So for me, the closest there is the 20%, and then I come over and I can see that based on the 31 calculation that we went through, okay, I can burn a little bit over 1,000 calories, okay, before I go into muscle, okay. Now, if I'm training, if I'm achieving my calorie deficit through exercise, I'm looking at the 22 column. So based on that, I'm looking at about 700. I'm at 18%, so it wouldn't be 783. It might be closer to about 700 calories that I could go. So basically, I know based on that I don't want to be achieving any more than 700 calories a day deficit. Otherwise, I'm going to sacrifice muscle mass. Now, if we go back to this, is how many calories that this calculator has told me that I should have a day to maintain my body mass where I'm at. So now I know that 800 is my sweet spot. I just take 800 off of that. So that's going to be just under 2,000 calories is going to help me achieve fat loss, not weight loss, fat loss. If I wanted to lose more weight, I would go down to like 1,600 calories a day, okay? But I don't want to lose muscle mass. I just want to lose body fat. I'm willing to wait longer, or what I'm saying is, providing you're willing to wait longer, it's more sustainable to lose less weight, okay, but over a longer period of time and lose body fat than get the quick fix and try and lose loads of weight quickly, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So I'll let me just see if I can share these two links now. I'll get rid of this thing. There we go. So this one. I can't find the chat box. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that one's there. So that's the total daily estimated. And then this is called the fast food macros max calculator. So I'll put that one in there too. Okay, so you've got two different links there in the chat box. Okay, so you can go through that yourself then. All right, so cool. Does that all make sense, guys? that help?
Yes, thank
Is
you.
that yes? Go for it, Yvonne.
So obviously I'm 55, believe it or not, and I don't think my body fat's too bad, and I have an idea that I would really want to lose about 7 more pounds.
Okay.
But would I be better off doing more weight training than anything else? And because
Yes.
my diet, to be honest with you, and I'm careful about the food I eat. I'm not an excess person. I don't eat processed food, and you know what I mean. So I don't calorie count. I'll be honest with you, and I don't think at my age I'm going to. But I know myself. I want to be a certain weight in the day. We'll say at the start, because I know at the start of the day you will weigh something, and then throughout the day you put on weight. Yeah. So my aim is that I'd like to be a certain weight at the start of the day, which means I've probably got 5 to 7 pounds to lose. And then to keep my strength up, I would be better off doing more strength work, because obviously I'm getting older.
Yeah, I think your regime, like, I mean, when LPT's open, I think that the regime that you've got there is probably quite suited to you. I'd probably say, you know, if you've got, well, you're going to have the accelerated package anyway, so you can go to as many sessions as you want when we reopen. But I would say try and make maybe a slightly higher percentage of the strength-based sessions, like what do we do? Wednesday and Thursday, the muscle development days.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe make a slightly higher percentage of those, and Mondays and Tuesdays as well are the sort of conditioning days with weights. It's only really Friday and Saturday where we go a little bit more cardio based. Yeah. So yeah, I would suggest that would be a sort of a good sort of mix. I think really, Yvonne, I think as long as you're, sorry, I'm just putting my computer charge is about to go. As long as you are, you know, working hard in your sessions and you're sort of upping your weights when you are doing the weights, that's really key, because it's fine doing a load-based training, but you know, if you're not actually increasing your weights very often,
that's what I was thinking.
So you just need to make sure that you're hitting what's called muscle overload. So you're actually pushing the muscle to a point where it's actually going to have to grow and get stronger. That will help maximize things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. It's just, and also the other thing is, we all talk about weight, and don't get me wrong, we all want to be lighter and everything, but weight, people actually, muscle weighs more than fat.
No,
it's not the case.
Well, no, because
that's what they say.
Because if my phone is muscle and my duck is fat, and we've got a pound of fat and a pound of muscle, what have I got? I've got a pound of fat and a pound of muscle, so it's the same.
That's what they always say on weight. But they say, oh yeah, but you've built muscle, so you're going to be strong, you're going to be heavier.
Yeah.
Everybody, is that just...
No, what basically muscle is more dense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like if that's a pound of fat and that's a pound of muscle, then what that means is that's a pound of fat and that's a pound of muscle. So they weigh the same. If you put a pound of fat and a pound of muscle both on scales, they'll both equal. What the difference will be, the pound of fat will be a little kind of squidgy and a little bit like, I think you may have seen the replica that we have at the LPT. We've actually got a replica of a pound of fat and muscle. The key thing to take away from today is obviously the metabolic, how can I put it? How many calories that each burns? Yeah, you know, 8 to 10 calories compared to 2 to 3 is huge. Yeah.
And with the classes that we do, obviously, and there's a lot of us doing extra classes at the moment. Where are we? Are we doing moderate exercises, or are we doing more active? I know that sounds a really silly thing to ask. You know, we're doing
strength and conditioning, so it's quite a good mix, to be honest.
No, that's not what I'm asking. The
Oh.
question I'm asking is, okay, we'll put in this calculator in here, in your thing.
Oh, right. See,
Where do we put ourselves? Moderate?
moderate. Yeah.
Is it moderate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to take into account a little bit. If you've got a really active job, for instance, and you're doing what we're doing, you're probably going to go, you're in the active phase. But if your job's fairly sedentary, but you're training with us as you are, more like moderate.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, I'm gonna have to shoot because I'm doing a podcast in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. Yes, yeah.
Erica,
Yes.
are you able? Did you get my PM?
Yeah. So I think Adam myself or stuff will pop over between, well, now and 4. Yeah. Is it still the case?
I will be able to get there by. Could you do it between 3 and 4?